Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we're the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that
sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News in View.
And here are today's headlines.
Various groups, including Iglesia ni Cristo, took to the streets over the weekend to demand government accountability and fight corruption.
Zaldico has released the third installment of his videotaped accusations linking President Bongbong Marcos to the flood control scandal.
The CBCP cautions against extra-constitutional measures in addressing political issues, urging the public to uphold the rule of law.
Senator Kiko Pangilinan pushed back at Senator Bato de la Rosa's claim that the opposition was posturing as righteous and anti-corruption following former lawmaker Zaldico's corruption revelations.
First in the news, the Iglesia ni Cristo has kicked off its three-day protest, gathering thousands of members to call for accountability and transparency in the government. Here's the report.
Transparency, accountability, and justice. These are the main calls from the members of Iglesia ni Cristo gathered at the Carino Grandstand on Sunday as they opened their three-day rally. Rain or shine, massive crowds filled the area. They are holding up placards with messages expressing frustration, saying that despite floods reaching rooftops, no one has been jailed. They claim ongoing investigations are nothing but drama, which is why they are calling for justice, not excuses. Ministers of Iglesia ni Cristo delivered messages, but no names of political figures or personalities were released. INC spokesperson Edwin Zabala says non-members were welcome to join because their call for transparency and accountability is a constitutional right. Their appeal to the government: conduct an open and thorough investigation into alleged anomalies in flood control projects, hold those responsible accountable, and recover public funds allegedly lost to corruption.
Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa revolusyon. Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa revolutionary government. Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa kudeta. Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa snap election. Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa paglalagay ng civilian military junta. Basta yung hakbang magbubunga ng karahasan at kaguluhan, hindi tayo sang-ayon dyan. Ang gusto natin, lahat ng solusyon, lahat ng hakbang dapat sumunod sa paraang legal at payapa.
In a nearby area, pro-Duterte groups held their own protest at Liwasang Bonifacio, expressing support for INC's call for accountability, but directing their anger toward the Marcos administration, particularly officials linked to the alleged anomalous flood control projects.
May hierarchy yan hanggang sa doon siya dumating sa top. Sino ba ang top? Kaya ang ma-issue is ang sinisigaw ay Marcos resign. Hindi kami naman pinaalis doon o ano. Ayaw lang namin na maglitaw kami ng mga placards, mga banner na hindi naaayon sa regulasyon ng iglesia. Hindi namin dapat gawin yan. Kaya kami, lumihis na lang kami.
By evening, the pro-Duterte protesters marched towards the EDSA People Power Monument to join other demonstrators gathered there. Another crowd gathered elsewhere at the EDSA People Power Monument, where retired military generals joined the growing anti-corruption protest. Among those present was former Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff Hermogenes Esperon Jr. His call: corrupt officials should feel shame and step down.
Masama itong korupsyon na nangyayari sa atin at ang dulot nito ay masama sa ating kabuhayan at ekonomiya.
Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla yesterday said the rallies in Manila remained generally peaceful.
Alas Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro addressed public concerns over slow flood control investigations, saying thorough reviews are underway before any action is taken. Here is the report.
Malacanang said President Bongbong Marcos is closely monitoring the ongoing three-day rallies organized by the Iglesia ni Cristo and the United People's Initiative. During One News's special coverage of the protest, Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro assured the public that security preparations are sufficient.
Handa naman ang ating kapulisan, handa ang ating gobyerno dahil alam naman natin na magkakaroon ng 3 araw na rally. So hindi naman ito pinabayaan ng PNP. Ang PNP, ang direktiba dyan, ay panatilihin ang kapayapaan at proteksyon ng ating mga kababayan. Monitor pa rin ang Pangulo within the vicinity ng Malacanang. So, nakikita naman po niya ang galaw ng ating mga kababayan.
Castro also addressed growing public frustration over the slow pace of investigations into flood control project. She explained that the review process involves large volumes of documents and multiple ongoing investigations, all of which must be completed before further action can be taken.
Ang problema kasi maraming propagandista na gusto talagang ito ang isentro na ang bagal-bagal ng Pangulo, ang bagal-bagal ng gobyerno. 3 months pa lang ang dami na nasampahan na kaso . Dapat yun yung maintindihan ng tao.
The Palace Press Officer also reacted to former Ako Bicol Party-list Congressman Zaldico allegations linking President Marcos and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez to alleged budget insertions in the proposed 2025 national budget. She described Co's claims as inconsistent.
So, ang dami-daming inconsistencies na sana yung mga kababayan natin na bukas yung isip, hindi mga blind followers ng kung sino-sino, mabuksan yung isip nila na itong mga sinasabi ni Zaldico ay pawang kasinungalingan, walang ebidensya, tahi-tahi. At yung sinasabing expose na mukhang ayon sa kanyang mga kaalyado, expose, naging comedy series na. Dahil katawa-tawa talaga yung mga sinasabi niya. Ito mga timing na to, hindi namin napag-usapan ng Pangulo to. Sa akin o sa kanya, hindi niya to nabanggit sa akin. But ako, sabi ko nga personally, yung pagkakaramdam ko is meron gumamit. May gumagamit kay Zaldico, mukhang may nangako na kapag naiba ang liderato.
Meanwhile, Castro and political analyst Malu Tiquia had a heated exchange over questions regarding Orly Goteza's whereabouts.
Siguro alam ni Yuse kung nasan si Gutesa.
Bakit mo naman sa akin ibibintang? Baka kayo may alam. Total, kayo naman yata may kakilala dyan.
Hindi, ikaw nasa gobyerno
Pero teka lang, sino ba nag-present sa kanila? Mga kaalyado
nyo yung nag-present. Please do not accuse me.
Hindi kami nag-present dyan. Baka kaalyado nyo nag-present dyan.
Hindi. Ayan ang propaganda. Biro mo ang assertion mo. Ako kasama?
Ba't mo hinahanap sa akin? Baka alam mo.
Alam mo, pag ikaw ang estado, never mind.
Well, let's
I respect this show. I do not want to go to the gutter.
Don't start kasi. You're putting something to me.
But you are representing government.
But still, bakit ko malalaman? Hindi ako nag-present dyan. Bakit mo sa akin?
And now let's check the situation at Quirino Grandstand, where the second day of the Iglesia ni Cristo protest is underway. We have mobile journalist Jazz Paredes. Jazz, go ahead, day 2 now. So ano ang difference from yesterday and today?
Peaceful rally dito sa Quirino sa Maynila. Kaninang umaga, pagdating na dito kanina ay maraming mga nakaset up, mga tent, mga higaan, at kuha ng kanilang mga makeshift sa tirahan or temporary shelter dito dahil simula alas 6 ng gabi ay nagkaplaro sila dito sa Quirino Grandstand para sa kanilang rally hanggang 3 araw daw. Dito sila mag-stay at kaya naman na nagkawa na sila ng mga temporary shelter dito, lalo na iba-iba rin yung lagay ng panahon. Kahapon ay umabot sa 650,000 yung estimate ng mga katao na dumating dito sa rally. Sa ngayon ay wala pang final estimate. Ngunit kung makikita sa aking likuran ay puno na rin itong Quirino Grandstand ng mga rallyista at pati na rin dito sa harapan ko. Sa Rizal Park ay puno na rin ng mga rallyista dito. At saka dito, patuloy ang kanilang panawagan. Rally, ang kanilang rally at panawagan ay transparency for a better democracy. At kanina nga ang kanilang sinisigaw ay justice, hindi justice. At syempre, justisya para sa bayang ninakawan. At katulad nga ng paulit-ulit nila kami nananawagan ay hindi nila intensyon na pagbagsakin ng gobyerno, kundi ay magkaroon ng transparency sa pagtitis. At syempre, mapanagot ng mga opisyales na may koneksyon sa korupsyon. Kahapon nung may mga nakita tayo dito ng mga nagsalita ng notable personalities gaya na lang Senator Dante Marcoleta at kanyang ang note o kanyang diniin sa kanyang speech na tila nag-a-approve na daw ang korupsyon dahil dati bilyones lamang korupsyon sa panahon ng ni Trillones lamang noong panahon ni Napotes. Ngunit ngayon daw ay umabot na sa Trillones, kaya naman ay panawagan nila kasama nitong Iglesia ni Cristo ay transparency at mas maging transparent nga yung paglilitis ng mga opisyal na involved sa corruption.
Yeah, Jazz, alam naman natin na 3 days yan, pero anong oras yung program proper today?
So, yung tinitignan na program proper hanggang alas 10 ng gabi, pero mas hindi pa raw yung tumagal dahil inaasahan na siyempre baka magbago pa throughout the day. Pero babalitaan natin yan kung hanggang anong oras. Pero sa ngayon ay ang inaasahan niya daw hanggang alas 10 ng gabi yung kanilang programa kagaya kahapon at sila yung kanilang main program bandang 3 p.m. Pero sa ngayon, itong narinig natin sa aking likuran na 9 a.m. nag-start yung program ay more on mga kantahan lamang at mga chants ng mga release dito. Pero mamayang alas 3 daw ng hapon, wala talaga yung main program sa'yo.
Just yesterday, mga bandang alas 4, alas 5, may mga ilang grupo na claiming sila ay pro-Duterte ay apparently nagpunta dyan sa Quirino Grandstand pero itinaboy sila ng mga INC members saying nga kasi di ba ang call ng INC alam mo natin ay hindi daw for revolutionary government, no? So ngayong araw ba meron na tayong nakitang mga nag-attempt uli na pumunta diyan na ibang grupo para makisali diyan sa peace rally ng INC?
So ngayon, Angela, nagtanong-tanong tayo at tignan natin kung meron bang mga ibang grupo na gusto pakisama dito sa peace rally ng Iglesia ni Cristo. Ngunit sa ngayon daw ay wala pa naman, ngunit babalikan natin ang mga kapulisan at yung mga authorities na nakapaligid dito. Tanungin kung meron ba tayong mga analista na development or gusto pakisama sa rally. Pero sa ngayon, Angela, kung wala kaninang umaga, ay wala pa namang malapit para makisama sa rally dito.
Pero muli, ang kanilang panawagan, open yan para sa lahat. Pero dapat yung peaceful rally, tama?
Tama naman yung Angela, no? Dahil nga ang kanilang panawagan talaga ay legal o legal yung kanilang yung kanilang rally. Nila gustong bigahan sa violence o dapat ito lang yung kanilang tawagan ng peaceful rally. Gusto lang daw talaga nila ay marinig at magkaroon ng transparency paglilitis na yung ating mga federal projects. Kung hindi ba daw aligned sa kanilang panawagan ay hindi na nakakarating kung hindi ang ganito. Pero open daw sa lahat. Nagpapalit ko sa rally kahit hindi yung gano'n nationalist. Basta ay kasama or let's say na aligned sa kanilang pinananawagan ngayong araw, Angela.
Oo. Mamaya ba magsasalitang muli si Senator Rodante Marcoleta before the crowd there sa INC? And kwentuhan mo kami dun sa nangyari naman yesterday. Ano-ano yung mga nilaman ng kanyang speech at nabanggit niya ba dito si Zaldico?
So ngayon, Angela, wala po tayong makukuha ang impormasyon sa dadalong muli si Rodante Marcoleta sa day 2 dito sa Quirino Grandstand. Pero kahapon, sa kanyang speech, kanyang biniit nga na meron daw talagang parang nag-upgrade nga daw yung corruption ngayon. Dahil nung panahon daw ni Napoles ay yung piso lamang nga daw yung naging corruption noon, yung nanakaw. Pero ngayon ay umabot na sa 3 piso, kaya naman nakikisa siya dito sa panawagan nga ng Iglesia ni Cristo na magkaroon ng transparency nga yung paglilitis. At isa rin dyan sa mga nagsalita, ay si Edwin Zabala, yung Iglesia ni Cristo spokesperson na kung saan ay parehas sila ng pinananawagan ni Senator Rodante Marcoleta, na gawing tapat at lantad nga yung sinasagawang investigasyon hinggil nga doon sa korupsyon na
Jazz? Nawala yung signal doon kay Jazz. No? So, for those who just tuned in, that we were just talking to our mobile journalist, Jazz Paredes, na situated right now dyan sa Quirino Grandstand.
Kung
saan naggaganap nga po ang second day peace rally ng INC members.
Ayun. Yesterday, around over 500,000, around 600,000 down dumalo dito. Ayun, no politicians are allowed, kaya nagka-question yung iba, bakit pinayagan daw si Senator Marcoleta. Although, alam naman natin that he's from the INC, but still, he was a politician.
Political, figure pa rin siya.
Political figure pa rin siya. Today, we don't know kung sino sa mga ministro ang magsasalita. Nagtatanong sila kung si Sir Manalo magsasalita daw. Of course, the head of the church. Diba? Kung mag-appear daw siya. So I think hindi na natin mababalikan si Jazz due to technical difficulties. But thank you anyway, Jazz Paredes reporting live from Quirino Grandstand. Motorists are advised to brace for heavy traffic around the EDSA People Power Monument. Traffic is expected to slow down from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. along EDSA Katipunan Avenue, Ortigas Avenue, White Plains Avenue, and Temple Drive. Motorists are encouraged to take alternate routes. A zipper lane through, though, will be implemented along White Plains Avenue between EDSA and Katipunan starting 5 in the morning. Personnel from the MMDA and QCPD will deploy to manage traffic flow.
Now, groups are expected to return to EDSA People Power Monument as the anti-corruption protest enters day 2. Let's now check this situation with our mobile journal, Ray Vicente. Ray, tell us what's happening there.
Angela, Diego, magandang umaga. May mangilan-ngilan na nga ng mga rallyista rito sa People Power Monument para sa ikalawang kilos proseso dito sa EDSA Quezon City. At kahit nga nandito na yung mga ibang rallyista ay hindi pa rin sila pinapapasok sa mismong venue o sa entablado dito sa aking likuran, no? Ayan, kung makikita nga natin, wala pa talaga rito sa venue at nasa gilid lang talaga sila mismo ng kahabaan ng White Plains Avenue, no? Kasi sa ngayon, Diego, Angela, ay ongoing pa talaga yung preparasyon ng mga organizers dito. Kaya naman, kung maririnig nyo, nagkasagawa rin ng soundcheck, pati inaayos din yung entablado, no? At ayon daw sa production team ay 1 p.m. talaga magsisimula yung mismong programa dito sa People Power Monument. Pero ayon naman sa pulisya kanina, ay 9 a.m. daw meron daw pre-program. Pero mukhang hindi raw natuloy dahil nga bumuhos yung malakas ng ulan tingin ng umaga. Pero ngayon, makikita naman na maaraw-araw na. At tulad kahapon daw ay may magaganap daw ng mga performances pero wala pa talaga tayong Diego, Angela, na listahan kung ano yung mangyayari sa programa ngayong araw. Pero kahit mangilang-ilang pa lang yung mga protesta dito ay sinisiguro naman ng pulisya ang maayos na sistema dito para talagang mas nagawa ulit yung peaceful rally. Diego, Angela.
Yeah, Ray, sino yung mga noted personalities last night or yesterday na nagsalita?
Isa nga rito, Diego, Angela, yung musician na si Jimmy Bundok na hinikaya talaga niya yung mga tao na hinig at talagang dapat may managot daw dito. At isa rin nga si Gigi Delana na pumunta rin dito pero bukod dyan ay aalamin pa natin kung sino pa yung mga pupunta ngayon at magpo-perform.
Alright. Ray, of course, dun sa INC rally, ang mga miyembro doon ay nagsasabi na ang kanilang layunin ay peaceful and transparency government, no, accountability. They even reiterated na no to unconstitutional solutions dito sa flood control mess, no revolutionary government. Dito sa rally dyan sa EDSA, for context, no, sa ating mga manonood, ano ba ang kanilang mensahe? Yung organizer nga dito, Angela, Diego, United People's Initiative ay talagang sinabihan na nila yung pulisan na walang seditious remark o yung pagpudyok na pag-angklas sa gobyerno. At kahapon nga actually nagkaroon ng tension dito na yung mga ilang rallyista ay pumunta dito na may bit-bit na placard na pinag-aalis o pinagpipitaw si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. No? Pero talagang inayos naman ng pulisya, pati mismo organizer, kasi talagang gusto nila maging maayos itong rally na walang magpupulong aktibidad.
Ray, how many people are expected today? And of course, since nakatayo ka dyan, kamusta na ang traffic situation northbound ng EDSA?
Diego, Angela, ayon sa pulisya ay kahapon kasi 4,000 daw ang dumalo dito sa People Power Monument. At ang sabi ng pulisya, ini-expect nila na 4,000 din o posible na mas bumaba pa ito kasi Monday na. So, yung mga pupunta sa rally ay posibleng nasa trabaho na, pero kahit ganun mananatili daw yung mahigpit na seguridad at para naman sa daloy ng trapiko, kung makikita nga dito sa aking left side, no, maayos pa rin yung daloy at ayun nga, bukas pa rin yung kalahating bahagi ng White Plains Avenue pero sabi ng pulisya ay tititignan daw nila kung ulit yung buong White Plains Avenue kung sakaling dumami pa yung mga tao.
So Ray, yung nasa likod mo, that is White Plains?
Yes. Yes, Diego Angela, White Plains Avenue.
Tapos yung sa EDSA side, wala naman problema so far. Okay,
Diego
okay.
Angela, so far, hindi pa rin naman sinasarado yung kahit anong linya ng EDSA dahil tuloy-tuloy pa naman yung daloy ng mga sasakyan. Pero kanina nang pumunta kasi tayo dito, Diego Angela, mga bandang 6 a.m. ay pa-traffic na from Cubao to EDSA People Power Monument papunta. Pero nung dito naman sa mismong bahagi ng People Power Monument ay wala naman tayo nakikitang traffic.
Okay. Alright, so hingi lang ako ng update sa iyo, Ray, regarding dun sa permit ng mga grupo ng rallyista dyan sa EDSA People Power Monument. Kasi I believe prior to yesterday, ang permit lang na nakuha nila ay until yesterday lang. So ngayon ba nakakuha na sila ng permit to gather uli hanggang mamayang gabi?
Angela, tama ka dyan, no? Nabalitaan din natin na hanggang kahapon lang yung permit na hanggang 10 p.m. lang exactly. Pero nung nakausap na natin yung pulisya, ay meron naman lang permit para ngayong araw hanggang bukas. Pero ang sabi ng pulisya ay hindi pa talaga nila nakukuha yung mismo copy ng permit at mamaya ay kukunin daw talaga nila sa organizer para maging confirmed.
So, ano ba yung pinaka-plano nila? Sabayan nila yung rally ng INC na hanggang 3 araw?
Yes, Angela, Diego, ang sinasabi nila ay itong bukas yung magkakaroon dito ng protesta. At bukas daw, nakusap natin isa sa mga production team dito ay maaari daw mas maaga yung magsisimula yung programa dahil nga huling araw na ito.
Okay, Ray, lastly, on my part, last na, no, I'd like to clarify kasi kanina binanggit mo basta walang seditious remarks, okay lang magkaroon ng kanya-kanyang mensahe. When you say seditious, kasama ba dyan ang word Marcos resign?
Yes, Diego, no, kasi yun nga kahapon ay meron na nagkaroon na ng tension dito na may mga release na bit yung placard na nagkasabi na nananawagan na bumitiw na si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at isa nga rito yung sa tinatawag na inuudyok na yung pag-angkas ng gobyerno kung so kung kali raw ay sana wag naman yung mga ganitong klaseng mabubulong at aktibidad.
Alright, patuloy kami makikipag-ugnayan sa iyo regarding sa development sa area na yan. Maraming salamat. Mobile Journal, Ray Vicente reporting live from EDSA People Power Monument. So actually, naging topic din yan yesterday sa coverage. So, to where do the government draw the line doon sa usapin ng sedition at saka ng freedom of speech?
Diba? Kasi in the past naman, there have been rallies na calling for the president to resign. And other countries have that. It's a valid call. Pero yung sinasabing to have the president resign through extra means like magkaroon ng movement to storm the palace, magkaroon ng pag-aklas ng military component, that is borderline, that's already sedition daw.
Sinabi ni
Pero ang sabi kasi ng iba, pag normal na panawagan, any country, Trump resign, di ba? Marcos resign, that's a norm. And you don't act on it, you just call on the president to resign. That should be allowed.
And I think yun yata parang pinagbabawal din ng Quezon City government doon ngayon doon sa EDSA People Power Monument ng mga release na parang rallyista na bawal sila magdala ng mga placard na merong BBM resign. So parang yun nga, syempre of course yung tanong doon, 'di ba? To where do we draw the line na baka naman paano yung freedom of expression ng mga tao na nandoon na ito ang gusto nila.
In the past pa ang klaro sa akin noon is you're allowed to call for a personality to resign if you're not happy with him as long as there is no component of money going in to have him resign through armed conflict, through an attempt to bribe people to withdraw support. Yun, that's different. Pero a mere call lang because you're not satisfied, well, that's my interpretation.
Well, dun sa nangyari din yesterday na na special coverage ng pinagsalib na puwersa, of course, ng News 5, 1 News, 1 PH, 2 FM, ay of course nag-uusapan ngayon yung sagutan nila Yusek Castro at saka political strategist Maluti Kia. And we're also saying here that we are grateful na yung dalawang panig po ay pumayag na magkasabay sila dun sa usapin yesterday, no? Because rarely it happens. And yun nga, true to our form na all sides all the time, maganda po na napagharap sila at nasabi naman po nila yung mga gusto nilang sabihin regarding the issues surrounding especially ngayon yung mga flood control mess.
Alam naman natin, not personally but on a professional level, magkaano sila? Opposing sides of the spectrum.
But all is well naman. At the end of the discussion, off-cam, sila ay nagbeso pa nung natapos yung usapin.
All is well nga ba?
Hindi natin alam.
Nandun din ako nun eh.
Alright, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on Mo News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Zaldico has provided more details on his bombshell allegations linking President Bongbong Marcos and Congressman Martin Romualdez to alleged budget insertions. Here's the report.
In the second part of his video statement, former Congressman Zaldico insisted that he did not receive any money from the alleged 100 billion peso insertion in the 2025 national budget. Co claimed that only President Bongbong Marcos and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez benefited from the funds.
Wala pong perang napunta sa akin. Lahat po ng insertion napunta sa ating Pangulo at Speaker Martin Romualdez. Ako lang at ang aking mga tao, sila Paul Estrada, Mark Tiksay, at ang aking mga security ang nag-deliver papunta sa bahay nila Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at Speaker Martin Romualdez sa North Forbes Park, South Forbes Park, hanggang sa Malacanang.
He added that Marcos' share from the insertions amounted to 25% or about 25 billion pesos.
After po ng approval ng budget sa General Appropriations Act of 2025, nagtanong po ako sa DPWH kung magkano ang kailangan na ibigay sa Office of the President o ang SOP na bigayan. Ang sinagot sa akin ay 25%. In total, 25 billion ang napunta kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos.
The former congressman urged both the Senate and the Office of the Ombudsman to thoroughly investigate the alleged budget insertion and substantiate his claims.
Kaya ngayon ay hinahamon ko si Ombudsman Remulla kung seryoso talaga siya sa mga sinasabi niya sa kanyang press release na idadamay niya pati si Martin Romualdez kung magbibigay ako ng ebidensya. Imbestigahan din niya si President Bongbong Marcos.
In the third part of the video, Co further alleged that Romualdez threatened to kill him if he talked during a meeting in March 2025.
March 2025 pa lang, si Speaker ay nagpaparinig na sa akin sa aming meeting that he will shoot me if I will talk. At pagkatapos niyang sabihin sa akin in a phone call na, "Don't come home, we will take care of you," tumawag ulit si Speaker Martin at sinabihan niya ako na pag umuwi ako will be dangerous. Kasi they might hire someone to do a rub out on me or hire the police to kill me while in jail.
He also claimed that President Marcos and Romualdez received 56 billion pesos from flood control projects.
Ang sinasabi nilang halaga sa ICI ay 21 billion. Hindi po totoo yan. Ang totoong numero ay 56 billion pesos. At yung pong halaga na yan ay kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at Martin Romualdez na punta lahat. Ilalabas ko po ang buong detalye sa darating na mga araw. Kaunting pasensya pa po. Sana po ay hindi nila ako mapatay bago ko mailabas ang lahat.
President Marcos shrugged off the allegations, saying he does not want to dignify the claims. Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro dismissed Co's promise expose as a comedy series.
Dahil lumiliit na ang mundo ni Zaldico, kailangan niyang umiwas at iiwas ang sarili at mag-name drop kahit walang katibayan at laway lang ang puhunan.
She emphasized that it was the president who initiated investigations into alleged anomalies, which have already uncovered several irregularities. Romualdez, for his part, maintained that his conscience is clear regarding the allegations. For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
Now, to understand the situation better and insights, let's talk to Attorney Michael Yusinko, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Good morning. Thank you for joining us again, Attorney. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of issues just happened. Let's start off, Attorney. Your reaction to the Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 of Zaldico. What do you take away from the first part accusing PBBM of insertions?
Well, first off, good morning to you, Angela and Diego, at good morning sa lahat ng listeners and viewers of your program. Well, ano kasi, Diego, no? I mean, lahat tayo, ang gusto natin mangyari, makulong lahat ng dapat makulong at mabawi yung mga perang ninakaw. That's what we want. That's what we desire, no? When it comes to this pork barrel corruption issue.
Yes.
So, in relation to that, yung videos na pinalabas ni dating Congressman Ko, yung mga allegations na binunyag niya, well, they don't really have any value in relation to our ultimate goal, no? Because hindi naman siya proof, hindi naman siya evidence, no? So hindi siya nakakatulong dun sa prosecution effort na gagawin ng ombudsman laban dito sa mga personalities na in-identify ni Ko. So if we just want to stay true to our objective, which is makulong lahat sila at mabawi yung perang ninakaw, then yung videos na pinalabas ni Ko, they really have no value at all, no? So that's the way I would look at it.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on how the palace responded, no, after the release of the video of Zaldico?
Well, it was an expected response, no? Siyempre, denial ang expected response dyan. I think siguro pwede ko lang madagdag is hindi naman nila pwedeng takasan yung katotohanan na because the pork barrel corruption happens in the budget process, hindi maiiwasan na ma-involve si Pangulong Marcos doon sa sitwasyon, no? Si Pangulong Marcos, si DBM Secretary, because the corruption happened or happens in the budget process. So they can deny, of course, that's their prerogative, pero hindi nila pwedeng isantabi yung katotohanan na merong kahit papaano, merong involvement dito yung administrasyon because of the pork barrel corruption occurs in the budget process.
But in connection to that, don't you think yung kanilang naging response ay parang medyo may pagka-defensive? And with all of this that are happening, do you think also it is right time that the President address the public regarding this? Because wala pa naman talaga siyang fully parang nangyari na pag-address sa public regarding this issue eh. Ang nangyayari kasi mga report lang niya, Q&A with the media, etc.
Well, of course, he can do that. No? The President can come out and address these matters directly, these allegations directly. Kaya lang, the way I would see it, kasi the President wouldn't be advised to do that. Kasi nga, yung accusations sa kanya, allegations sa kanya, they come in a form of a video posted in social media, right? So parang, I would say, kung the President will respond, then he has to respond to accusations leveled to him in the proper way or in the proper forum. Kasi kung papatulan, quote unquote, kung papatulan ni Pangulong Marcos yung mga pag-post lang sa social media, then I mean, for him, from his perspective, that would be tantamount to stooping down to the level of the person leveling the accusation, di ba? In that way. Yeah. So, yeah, sure, pwede mo sabihin defensive sila, but if you look at it, it's also not right for the President to respond to accusations, being made in that format.
Yeah, and given the video, so you're saying right now, let me rephrase, how high ang accountability ng President then? If we're not going to say that he took money or he was part of the insertion, so ano yung accountability ni PBBM?
Right now, hindi pa natin alam, no? Because we don't know the specifics, at least specifics that are supported by evidence or even by testimonies, no? Proper testimonies. No? But syempre, kung halimbawa he was involved directly or even exerted influence towards the insertions, then he could be, of course, liable for impeachment, right?
Yes.
Pwedeng maging impeachable offense yun. But right now, hindi natin alam yung specific involvement niya aside from the fact na he is part of the budget process and therefore meron siyang responsibility over what happens during the budget process. The same way, sila dating Speaker Romualdez, former Senate President Escudero, also has or have responsibility over whatever happens in the budget process.
In Professor Attorney, in an interview here sa One News, sila Angel and our team spoke to Congressman Toby Tiangco, no? And he said that back in November last year, I think 2024, he had a meeting. He and Speaker Romualdez had a meeting with PBBM where pinagalitan ni PBBM si Speaker Romualdez because of all the corruption that was happening sa House. The meeting lasted over 30 minutes to 1 hour. Ang question ko dito is, apparently now, lumalabas na PBBM knew about the corruption allegations in 2024. Tapos he only announced the corruption issues nung SONA niya on July. So that's over 6 months time difference. Tapos, a week ago, he came on record when he was asked kung dapat ba si former Speaker Romualdez dapat makasuhan. Sabi niya, there's not enough evidence. Pero parang nagkokontrahan ng mga statements na malabas because alam pala niya nung 24 and he did not do anything. Should he now be accountable for shielding supposedly daw, according to some, ang kanyang pinsan na si Congressman Romualdez?
That's certainly a fair point. No, that's a fair criticism of the president. However, I would actually address the criticism to Ombudsman Remulla, no? Because the president can't do anything now, no? Kasi this is now in the area of the ombudsman, because we're talking about prosecution of corrupt public officials.
Yeah.
And only the ombudsman can prosecute corrupt officials or high officials. So, yung mga ganong criticism specifically of protecting the speaker because of his relationship with the president, I would rather address that directly to Ombudsman Remulla and, make him or pressure him to say na they are doing everything they can to gather evidence to prove that the speaker is involved in this pork barrel corruption. Kasi if you just feel that criticism to the president, then what can the president say? No, na sasabihin niya, po-prosecute niya si speaker. Wala naman siya kapangyarihan to prosecute the former speaker. Only the ombudsman can prosecute corrupt high public officials, including the president, after his term ends.
Yeah. Pero may kapangyarihan siya para ipaalam sa publiko na may nangyayari behind their backs, di ba? Parang yun yung point natin dito. Pero Attorney Yusinko, going back to the 3-part series ng video statement ni former Congressman Zaldico, of course, a lot of people are saying it's a bombshell not because of the content, but somehow parang alam na natin na gano'n naman talaga yung nangyari, but because matagal nga natin siyang hindi nakita at hinahanap natin siya. And by him saying na wala siyang nakuha doon sa naging proseso na yon, do you believe that?
It's hard to believe. Let me put it that way. Kung siya yung chairman ng Appropriations Committee, so he is also primarily responsible for whatever happens during the budget process. So, yung claim na hindi siya kasama dun sa scheme,
nag-deliver
from
lang
a layman's perspective, that's very hard to believe.
Pero para on a PR and optics and in a legal perspective, what is the rationale behind giving it in a 3-part series? Why not just
isang bulto?
Is he trying to hold some of his punches, parang forcing the government to negotiate with him?
Well, for me, kasi in the format that it was done, yung videos tapos posted in social media, I see an intent to, create chaos or create more distortion in the public discourse. No? Parang binibigyan niya ng materyales yung mga content creators na manggulo, lalo ng pag-uusap ng tao, pag-uusap natin, Kasi pag nagkakaroon ng magulong political discourse, kapag bangayan, kapag bardagulan, parang natatago yung mga kabahuan in the sense, no, na kung sino talaga yung liable or sino yung accountable, no? Kasi nagkakaroon ng mudslinging, muckraking, so hindi natin napipinpoint talaga kung sino yung dapat sisihin natin. So siguro yun yung dahilan kung bakit sa ganong paraan niya nilabas yung mga gusto niyang ilabas. Because it can contribute to more bardagulan and bangayan and, you know, shield all of them from the public wrath, no? Kasi lahat tayo galit lang eh. Pero hindi natin ma-pinpoint kung sino ba talaga na ibabalan yung galit natin.
That's true.
Attorney, final question na lang po from us, from a legal standpoint, bilang isang lawyer, is it really true yung sinasabi po ng Malacanang? Is it really that hard na kumbaga magsampa ka agad ng mga kaso? Because alam naman natin, yung publiko ay naiinip na since the revelation of this mess nung July until na wala pa rin masyadong nakakasuhan at walang nakukulong. Although may promise that there will be people in jail by December.
At least detention.
Oo, detention. But on a legal standpoint, ganun ba talaga? Parang ito ba yung nangyari sa PDAP scam na umabot ng mahigit 10 taon bago natin nalaman yung ibang mga involved dito ay even na ano pa, kumbaga scot-free pa, 'di ba? Na napawalang sala.
That's a good question. No? So from being a litigator myself, I can say na mahirap talaga yung case build-up, lalo na kung ganitong criminal case of corruption. No? Kasi ang kailangan gawin ng ombudsman at ng mga piskal is to gather evidence to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. So yan ang pinakamataas na threshold for evidence. No? So I can understand kung bakit very deliberate yung approach ng ombudsman at ng DOJ. No? But having said that, hindi naman kailangan na ganong katagal yung proseso. No? Yung katulad na sinabi mo na 10 years. No? Hindi dapat ganon. Hindi rin yun ang utos ng saligang batas natin. No? So, welcome news yung moves na magkakaroon tayo ng mga special designated courts, no, sa RTC. And also yung commitment ng Ombudsman and the Sandigan Bayan to really follow strictly yung speedy trial rules natin, no? So para hindi ma-delay yung hearings and yung proceedings. No? Siguro ang pwede ko lang maidagdag na kahit na ba naiintindihan ko sila, no, na ganun yung approach nila, meron din naman silang responsibilidad na buksan yung proseso sa taong bayan.
Yes.
No? They have to make it, I mean, when I say they, I'm talking about the Ombudsman, the Supreme Court, and the Sandigan Bayan. They have to open the proceedings to the public. Kasi kung ang mangyayari nito, katulad din pa rin ng dati na hindi natin alam anong nangyayari, right? Because nakatago eh. Then syempre, lahat tayo mag-iisip pa rin na, uy, merong niluluto o pinapadelay lang nila kasi merong iniintay. No? So, I think the Ombudsman and the Supreme Court and the Sandigan Bayan should seriously consider opening the proceedings to the public, no? Adopting the latest communications technology available, no? Like live streaming the trial, live streaming the investigations, or even dedicating, you know, sections of the gallery to journalists like yourself, no, na nandun kayo para kayo yung saksi doon sa nangyayari.
Alright, maraming salamat muli sa inyong oras and of course your insights, Attorney Michael Yusinko, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Magandang umaga po.
Maraming salamat.
Now, Senator Kiko Pangilinan has rejected Senator Bato de la Rosa's claim that the opposition is merely posturing as righteous in light of Zaldico's budget manipulation revelations. Pangilinan said the opposition is not being silent, only carefully weighing actions for the good of the country. He insists that their calls must lead to real accountability. This came after De La Rosa posted on Facebook that Pink Lawans were plotting to look virtuous amid cause admission.
A Ukrainian human rights lawyer whose group won the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize is sounding the alarm about China's role in Russia's invasion of her country. She says what happened to them may very well happen to others if the authoritarian regimes aren't stopped. Fatima Baduria has the story.
Russia is China's proxy. That was the message from Ukrainian human rights lawyer Alexander Matvichuk, who visited Manila recently to speak at Rappler's Social Good Summit. Matvichuk heads the Center for Civil Liberties, which was awarded the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize for their work documenting war crimes.
Russia is a China's proxy. In the beginning of 2022, Putin went to Peking, met with Xi Jinping, and they made the joint statement about the New World Order. And just several weeks after this, Putin started large-scale war. There is no coincidence.
Matvichuk says China is examining the war in Ukraine closely and supporting Moscow in a bid to challenge the US-led international order. She warns that if Moscow gets away with it, authoritarian forces around the world will be emboldened.
Russia openly broke UN Charter, so if Russia succeeds and will remain unpunished, it will encourage other authoritarian leaders in different parts of the globe to do the same, and we can find ourselves in a world which will be dangerous for everyone without any exception.
When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, propaganda and fake news ran rampant, and journalists were among those first targeted and tortured. Matvichuk says that's because disinformation campaigns is a key tactic in Russia's war of aggression, and the battleground is social media. She says big tech needs to be held accountable for its role in platforming mis- and disinformation.
We have to make the owners of big tech accountable. Because, I'm sorry, they are part of the problem. It's a battle for hearts and minds of people, and this battle has no national borders at all.
Indeed, the Philippines is no stranger to this, having been called patient zero in the battle against disinformation. The Ukrainian people remain resilient and will continue to fight, she says. But her hope is that like-minded democracies like the Philippines can make their voices heard before the authoritarian regimes get their way. For starters, she wants Manila to join the Special Tribunal, which is an international criminal tribunal to prosecute crimes of aggression against Ukraine when it's set up.
I hope that Philippines will join to the Special Tribunal on Aggression to send a huge, strong signal that aggressive war in 21st century is not welcomed.
We really need your help. It's very difficult to fight in this genocidal war, especially with this digital dimension.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on Dwa News.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines cautioned against extra-constitutional measures in addressing political issues, urging the public, including the military and police, to uphold the rule of law. Cardinal Jose Advincula emphasized that emotions should not override reason during public gatherings and that loyalty must remain with the nation and its democratic principles rather than with any individual or self-serving agenda. He also underscored the critical role of the military and police in protecting the Constitution, ensuring national stability, and safeguarding democratic institutions. The CBCP further called for a moral and spiritual response to what it described as a deep ethical and spiritual crisis facing the country.
Now let's talk more about this with Father Jerome Ceciliano, Executive Secretary of CBCP's Episcopal Commission on Public Affairs. Good morning, Father. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning to the two of you and good morning to the televiewers.
Okay, Father, why do you think there's a need to, issue this kind of statement? Of course, yung timeline po nito ay kasabay po ng 3 days na peace rally ng INC.
Well, paalala lang naman ito kasi kapag ganitong may mga rally, baka naman emosyon ang umiral, dapat reasonable pa rin naman tayo. Pag sinabi natin reasonable, ando doon naman yan sa mensahe na talagang usisain natin, tingnan natin, evaluate natin, i-assess natin kung ano yung napapakinggan natin. Dahil kapag halimbawa may sinabi yung isa, tatanggapin kagad natin, baka naman tayo malihis, ika nga. So yung prudence din ay paalala, ika nga na dapat tingnan natin ang lahat ng ito sa rasyonal na pamamaraan at kung meron man talagang ebidensya, ang panawagan ng CBCP doon ay bumalik dito ay yung pong isang kongresista para harapin talaga itong mga issue na ngayon ay nakakagulo sa ating bayan.
There's no doubt, Father, ang daming mga galit right now, no? And ano ang magiging payo mo, for Christians in general na talagang umaapaw na ng galit and are borderline at their tipping point. So what's the best way to cope with this anger?
Well, number one, andi dito naman yung mga rally para ilabas nga natin yung ating kumbaga saloobin. But then again, kahit na nagsisigaw tayo dito, hindi naman puro dapat emosyon lang, dapat grounded din ito sa katotohanan. I guess yung truth doon, in-emphasize din yan ng statement ng presidente ng CBCP na makita, malaman kung ano yung katotohanan dahil ito naman din ang magiging pundasyon ng mga pagkilos natin. So, yun ang number one na advice ko. Pangalawa, yung sinabi naman ng Archbishop of Manila na hindi ng pragmatic solution ang kailangan sa ganitong usapin. Merong ethical aspect dito, merong moral aspect at saka spiritual dimension. So, kinakailangan ng bawat isa ay ipagpatuloy yung pagninilay, di ba? Kasi ang kasalanan naman ay nagagawa yan ng bawat isa sa atin. And so therefore, yung sinasabi nating spiritual renewal ay mahalaga din. Dahil alam natin lahat na kapag tinanggal mo yung component na to at gagawin lang natin yung gusto natin, masunod lang yung layaw natin, dito talaga nagkakagulo. Kaya mahalaga yung grounded pa rin tayo sa Panginoon.
That's right, Father. There's no doubt that corruption has become to a point accepted by many na to smallest forms of corruption in the office. Kunyari, uwi ko yung isang lapis na hindi naman akin. That I've been told that's a form of corruption. How do we start then to renew this mindset, to have a moral and spiritual revolution para not only sa government but amongst the people, magbago ang natin, the way we deal in our personal lives?
Well, meron tayong educational institutions. Diba? Ang alam ko dito, dapat itunuturo yan. Very basic yan. Kahit na yung mga maliliit na bagay na kinukuha mo, that's a form of stealing already. So we need to be reminded about this. Ang stealing kasi hindi naman billions O kaya millions na, o kaya daan-daan libo lang. Kahit na maliit na bagay, if it is not yours, and then you get it, stealing yan. So kinakailangan na i-emphasize ulit ito sa ating educational institutions. Ang problema, kung noon panahon namin, meron kaming religion meron kaming catechism, tapos meron pa kaming tinatawag na GMRC. Hindi ko lang din alam ngayon kung meron pa ba nung ganung mga bagay. Hopefully, yung mga teachers ngayon ay ginagawa pa rin naman nila yung pagtuturo. Itong mga basic na dapat na malaman at matutunan ng mga mag-aaral. Pangalawa, of course, kami naman sa simbahan, we constantly remind people, kaya nga 'di ba nakikita ninyo yung aming napakalaking mensahe, huwag kang papatay, huwag kang magnanakaw. Ngayong usapin ng pagnanakaw, kitang-kita natin 'yan, 'di ba, sa mga rally, huwag kang magnanakaw. Nung nakaraang rehimen, dahil kabi-kabila patayan, nakalagay din doon, huwag kang papatay. So ito yung mga utos na dapat na tinutupad natin o sinusunod natin. Kaya kami, bilang institusyon din naman, bilang simbahan, ando doon kami para magpaalaala sa taong bayan.
Father, very quick na lang po before we let you go. I was wondering kung ang CBCP will support yung November 30 rally. Ito po ay yung the very same group na nag-mount ng rally nung September 21.
Kahit naman nung September 21, wala naman talagang tacit na endorsement na itong rally na to ay talagang dapat na suportahan ng simbahan. Wala namang ganun. But then again, open din naman yung simbahan sa pagjo-join sa ganitong mga pagkilos. So palagay ko, wala naman din pagbabawal. Wala lang talagang isang organisasyon na pupunta doon para sabihin na, andi dito kami bilang CBCP. In fact, nung September 21 rally na yon, meron ding mga pare, Meron ding ilang obispo, but they do not carry the organization itself.
Alright, maraming salamat po muli sa inyong oras at insights, Father Jerome Siciliano, Executive Secretary of the CBCP's Episcopal Commission on Public Affairs. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Thank you.
Anyway, linawin na natin bago tayo umalis quickly. Hindi po na plinano yung kay Yusek
it was unplanned.
They were there, they were booked on the same day. Alam naman namin that was planned to book them on the same day. But ipagsabay sila, hindi po. It's just that sayang ang oras, nagpaalam kami for both sides.
Naman,
so hindi po, it was not a calculated
At tama po yun. Tama naman na hindi naman talaga alam.
But they were there. They were there at the same time. Different gaps lang dapat.
Alright.
Mainit no?
Oo.
Sige, bali na. That wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are one news.
All sides, all the time.